Chris Lee and Joey Dwyer of VandySports here. The Commodores have dropped an opening night game to Memphis. We didn't really know what to expect. A game where I don't know how much we learned. I think we think Memphis is a good team, but the Commodores, I think the story of the night was cold shooting just did Vandy in. And Vanderbilt dug a hole, never really got out of it. I thought Memphis' zone was really, really good. Vanderbilt's offense never got in the flow. I'm not going to say Memphis cruised because Vandy got within 10, a point or two in the second half, but just didn't have enough gas in the tank to get there.
Yeah, the story of the night for Vanderbilt offensively was the slow start. Memphis threw a lot at them that they didn't really know how to handle early on, a lot of switching, a lot of hedging, and a ton of length on the perimeter that Vanderbilt didn't seem overly prepared for. It had to adjust to it a little bit. You saw they adjusted throughout the night, but just three-point reliant all night. Shot about 33s throughout the night, and the first three possessions all ended in threes, one of which was Quentin Brown, one was Tyron Lawrence. I can't remember the third, but that was about the microcosm of the game for Vanderbilt. Two relying on the three ball, and they shot it well, 40% on 30 attempts, but man, it's really hard to win games when you shoot that many threes.
Jerry Stackhouse had some interesting stuff to say after the game. He said he wanted to get this freshman in there, get them tested, see what they could do, and I don't think we expected, though, to see several freshmen on the court at once when Vanderbilt was kind of making its last gasp effort.
Yeah, if you told me that Vanderbilt would throw 3 or 4 freshmen on the floor when their back was against the wall, I don't know if I would have believed you. And even crazier is that those guys provided good minutes for them and helped them to stay in the game. Colin Smith came in the game, a little overzealous at first, overshot that 3, airballed it, but then settled in, really contributed on the glass, was just kind of a force down there, brought some much-needed energy that kind of sparked Vanderbilt later on, and you saw him a little bit kind of mixed in with the veterans as the game went on too. So gained some trust, although he didn't shoot it incredibly well early on. Kind of settled in. Malik Dia hit a 3 as well. Paul Lewis played 7 minutes, didn't turn it over, so provided some nice steady backcourt play. And Lee Dort also chipped in with 3 minutes, but didn't show up much on the stat sheet.
I think the biggest question coming out of tonight is no Scottie Pippen. Who leads them? One thing we had focused on before the game was Jordan Wright. Wright had a couple of great games at the end of the year where he scored 20, 25 points and really led the team when Pippen kind of had an off night or two. But we said, well, is that going to work when Pippen's not on the floor because he's the focus of game plans and such? And it had a much different effect with no Scottie Pippen tonight.
Yeah, they needed more from Jordan Wright tonight, and not just Jordan Wright. Ezra Manjon, they needed more from, especially from the creative aspects. You can live with Ezra Manjon not being a double-digit scorer, close to a 20-point scorer, but he's got to distribute. And you saw it a little bit tonight with him kicking out to Miles Studi for a 3 late in the game. You saw some of that quickness defensively. I think his biggest impact tonight was defensively, and his impact isn't always going to show up on the stat sheet. He's kind of the guy who starts the chain of events, but they're going to need more from Ezra Manjon. He had 30 minutes tonight, only 4 points, 3 assists, or 6 points, 3 assists. So they're going to need more from Ezra Manjon and also Liam Robbins, who got into foul trouble early. Those are kind of their 3 catalysts, and they didn't get a whole lot from any of them tonight. They're going to need more from all those 3 if they want to get to where they want to, or if they want to get to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, the Robbins angle tonight was kind of interesting because we got a sense from what I'd heard that Lord Brown would start. He did. Robbins picked up 2 fouls in the first half, got a third maybe 30 seconds into the second half. I asked Jerry Stackhouse, did that really change anything? He said no, not really. I mean, they were going to split time anyway, but this was a game I think you needed more out of Liam Robbins to win against a team like Memphis. They didn't get it, but I think that just kind of proves it's going to be a timeshare at the post with those 2. And Lee Dort thrown in. Lee Dort had a nice block that he threw a row or 2 in the stands behind us here too. So there was a flash from him in there that showed maybe he's going to be part of what they're doing.
Yeah, Robbins finished with 15 minutes tonight, and Laura Brown with 14, Dort with 3. So it's front court by committee, as Jerry Stackhouse said, and I think we saw it tonight. And Laura Brown's going to provide you some nice things. Going to give you some nice things defensively. Robbins is the guy offensively down there, though, and they're going to need a lot from Liam Robbins this year. Can he kind of break out into that bigger role throughout the season like he had in Minnesota or Drake? That's going to be a huge question for Vandy, and he didn't quite do that tonight, and I think Vanderbilt would have been much better off if he had kind of established himself as the go-to guy in the post. And you saw a little bit of flashes down there early on in the game. They were really struggling to get some offense, dumped it down to Robbins and got a good look, although he didn't hit it. So he's really important to this team, and front court play in general is.
Tyron Lawrence led them in scoring with 14. We've heard well, I don't want to say recurred. Jerry Stackhouse has always been high on him. He's never been able to stay healthy for very long. We haven't been able to see it. He led them in scoring with 14 tonight. I'm not going to say that I noticed a lot of them. I felt like some of it came in the game. I'm not saying it was out of hand, but a lot of those were late when they were making a run that wasn't going to fall up short. But did you learn anything from Tyron Lawrence's play tonight?
Early on, I thought Tyron Lawrence tried to force a little bit, but as the game got more and more far along, I thought Tyron Lawrence really settled in, was more comfortable, and kind of led their first real run of this game. It was a 6 or 7 point run early or late in the first half, continued a little bit early in the second half, but it started with a Tyron Lawrence transition dunk, which got the crowd going. Lawrence then hit a three, and things started to flow for Vanderbilt from there. And we saw what Tyron Lawrence could be. We saw the athleticism. We saw kind of what he can do off the bounce and how he can be a complementary player if guys like Ezra Manjon are distributing well, if Jordan Wright's taking up some of the defensive attention. Tyron Lawrence can be a really valuable piece for this team, and I think we saw it tonight, although he probably shouldn't be the number one option.
No, and that's my fear coming out of this game is I don't know that they have a number one scoring option. It's probably going to be Jordan Wright. We have seen Wright do some things, but I think that was one thing that I kind of took away is we were concerned about the scoring punch. Do they have an alpha dog there? I don't know that they do. That said, Memphis is a big team.
Yeah.
I thought Memphis, really the first half, you can look at it and say Vanderbilt started 2 of 17 from the floor. And did it have an offensive guy? No, it didn't, and that was the problem. But give credit to the Tigers. I thought they just didn't give Vanderbilt almost any good looks in the first half.
Yeah, Memphis is going to provide more challenges than your average team that Vanderbilt's going to face. Obviously, the SEC defenses are not going to be cakewalks, but Memphis provides a different look, and Jerry Stackhouse compared it to LSU from last year. Jordan Wright also did. It's just a team that loves to get out and challenge you. They love to switch. They love to hedge. They love to just make plays with their length and try to make you uncomfortable. Kind of like this Vanderbilt team wants to do, and we saw in flashes tonight. We saw Ezra Manjon really putting Kendrick Davis to work in the first half, and that's where most of his value was defensively. If Ezra Manjon can kind of get downhill and create, we saw what he could do with Miles Studi and Tyron Lawrence. So it's going to be an Ezra Manjon show. He's the catalyst for this team to me, and we saw when he was getting downhill and creating, things were a lot better for this team. And when Memphis dropped into that zone and he couldn't get downhill, things were a little bit more challenging for the Commodores.
And if you didn't see the game, you looked at the box score. They shot 41% from the field. What were they, 12 or 29 from three?
12 of 30. 40%.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter when they come from, but they did kind of come late when the game was probably decided. And again, you just look back and go, boy, if they get off to a better start, maybe the night ends differently, but it just wasn't.
Yeah, I think Vanderbilt was a little over-reliant on the three ball, like we said earlier. Yeah. I think that's a really important aspect of this team. Can they get more from Jordan Wright or Leon Robbins off the bounce so they don't have to be as reliant on that? Can they get Ezra Manjon going downhill and creating a little bit more? I think that's probably the biggest question I still have with this team and the biggest question we had going into the offseason. You know what Miles Studi's going to be. You know he's going to hit it at least an efficient clip. Tyron Lawrence, I think it's still a bit of a question mark, but you saw what he could be tonight. The big thing, though, is can they have an alpha dog, like you said, who can go get his own shot and kind of take control of the game when they need him to.
Memphis beats Vandy by 9 in the season opener. I'm Chris Lee. He's Joey Dwyer. Thanks for watching us at VandySports. We'll see you again soon.